Hello, Kratos. What's wrong? You seem confused, Kratos. Having trouble remembering our special time together? Your rage means nothing!
Hey guys, what's happening? Niyat here with Film Comics Explained, and today we'll be taking a look at Kratos, the Ghost of Sparta, as featured in the incredible God of War game series, exploring his early life and journey to becoming the God of War. One of the best things about this game, other than the incredible story and gameplay, was that it made the Greek pantheon and Norse mythology more accessible to younger audiences, though many creative changes were made to fit the context of the game. Born in the Greek city of Sparta, Kratos was essentially the demigod son of Zeus and a mortal woman named Callisto, though he would remain unaware of this fact for most of his life. Like all Spartan youth, Kratos was monitored and trained for combat by Spartan soldiers. Often seen training with his younger brother Deimos, the young Kratos showed himself to be an unrelenting and aggressive fighter that was difficult to restrain, and around this time, Zeus began to hear prophecies foretelling his demise at the hands of one of his sons, who was described as a marked warrior. Hoping to circumvent the cycle of patricide that plagued the Greek pantheon, Zeus sent Ares and Athena to hunt down and dispose of the boy that would one day rise up against him, and after noticing the birthmark of Deimos, Ares invaded Sparta and took the child to Thanatos, the god of death. And in case you're wondering, yes, the character Thanos in the MCU was actually based off Thanatos, who is the Greek primordial god of death. During the struggle, Kratos attempted to save his brother, but was knocked down by Ares, and the loss of Deimos left the Spartan broken, leading him to vow never to falter again. In honor of his brother, Kratos then tattooed the exact mark of Deimos onto himself, which was the very mark that Zeus was told to be wary of. And like most self-fulfilling prophecies, Zeus's attempt to avoid his fate fast-tracked his own demise. It should also be noted that Deimos was not actually dead, but was merely imprisoned by Thanatos. As Kratos came of age, he became a respected member of the Spartan army, eventually going on to lead as its captain, whilst also marrying a woman named Lysandra and fathering a daughter, both of which functioned as his backbone and strength. Throughout the games, Kratos was portrayed as an anti-hero, often performing questionable actions to satiate the desires of those that he worked for, whilst also embarking on several adventures in attempts to avert disaster or change his fate. As a general, the Spartan had won his battles through brutal but effective tactics, and though he was a formidable fighter and a great leader, it was very clear early on that he had an unquenchable thirst for power. This fed into his pride, which in turn fueled his hunger, and despite the pleas of his wife Lysandra, Kratos vowed to continue his bloody conquests until the glory of Sparta was known throughout the world, which was an eloquent way of saying that he would never stop. The general and his armies finally met their match when they encountered the merciless barbarian tribes of the east, led by Kratos' old enemy, Ulrich, who sought vengeance for the death of his father. Outnumbered and overpowered, Kratos called out to Ares, the god of war, pledging his allegiance in exchange for victory. Seeing potential in the ruthless Spartan, Ares accepted the offer and proceeded to kill all the barbarians, prior to gifting Kratos the Blades of Chaos in return for his unquestionable loyalty, which were a pair of chain blades that were burnt into the flesh of Kratos to remind him of his oath. For a time, Kratos served under Ares, raiding villages, slaughtering innocents, and spreading chaos in his name. And under the God of War's influence, Kratos became utterly ruthless and gradually lost any semblance of the humanity he once had. During one of these merciless raids on a village filled with Athena's followers, Ares secretly transported Lysandra and his daughter to a nearby temple. Ignoring the village oracle's warnings, Kratos entered the temple and slaughtered everybody inside in a blind fit of rage, including his wife and child, whom he believed were still in Sparta. Ares then justified this as a means of severing Kratos' remaining attachments to the world of mortals, thereby molding him into a perfect warrior. Stricken with both horror and grief at what he had done, Kratos left the bodies of his family to be burnt within the temple, ultimately renouncing his allegiance to the god of war. The oracle then cursed Kratos, forcing him to forever wear the ashes of his dead family on his skin, and from that day forward, Kratos became known as the Ghost of Sparta, with his skin now pale as the moon from the ashes that coated him.
My wife, my child, How? They were left in Sparta.
You are becoming all I'd hoped you'd be, Kratos. Now, with your wife and child dead, nothing will hold you back.
But as the flames consumed the temple, Kratos realized his true enemy was the god who once saved his life. The same god who had now taken everything from him.
Ares!
Haunted by his past foul deeds and the nightmares they bore him, Kratos began serving the goddess Athena, who promised to relieve him of his visions if he helped her stop her brother Ares from destroying Athens, a task that Kratos eagerly accepted. After realizing that the only way to kill a god was to open Pandora's box and harness its power, the Spartan was moments away from opening it before he was impaled by a stake that had been thrown by Ares from across Greece, which pinned and killed him, sending Kratos down to the underworld. Kratos, being stubborn and unrelenting, refused to accept his own death and fought his way out of the underworld, eventually opening Pandora's box and using its power to kill Ares, saving Athens in the process. And though Kratos attempted to end his life, unable to deal with the nightmares of his victims, Athena intervened and transported him to Mount Olympus, and as a reward for his service to the gods, he was given a seat as the new god of war.
Kratos, the Ghost of Sparta, had taken his place amongst the Olympians as the god of war. The bloodshed, the relentless battles, had finally brought him here. Ares was dead, and though Olympus beckoned, visions of his mortal existence still haunted him.
As a demigod, Kratos possessed incredible physical prowess, beyond that of any mortal or beast, and used his abilities to defeat monsters, magical beings, titans, and even the gods themselves. After Kratos killed Ares and was made the new god of war, his powers were increased even further, giving him the ability to grow to monstrous heights, enabling him to become a fiery comet which would lay waste to all below him, as well as granting him all the powers of the god of war. Superhuman Strength. Kratos possesses incredible superhuman strength, which seems to fluctuate depending on the situation. I mean, he can easily subdue and rip apart many large and powerful beasts, and creatures such as undead legionnaires, infected humans, monsters, and magical beings using only his bare hands. In his battle against Hercules, who is considered to be unrivaled in terms of sheer strength, Kratos proved capable of stopping his charges, forcing him backwards, and enduring his powerful bear hugs without any ill effects, eventually breaking free and defeating him in the process. In addition to his vast physical strength, Kratos also possessed great levels of superhuman agility, stamina, durability, endurance, reflexes, and speed. Durability. Throughout the course of the games, he's seen falling from great heights and walking away unharmed, getting crushed, stabbed, beaten, blasted, and burnt by various enemies and traps, as well as surviving extreme environments such as Hell, the Norse realm of the dead, which was said to be so cold that not even Odin himself could survive there for long. Speed. Kratos' speed allows him to keep up with opponents who possess vast amounts of speed, such as Chiron, Hermes, and Zeus, who had the speed of lightning. Regeneration. He's also able to regenerate from most wounds at a fast rate, though it should be noted that he did not regenerate from the scar in his stomach caused by the Blade of Olympus, and the scar over his right eye caused by Ares. Kratos also possessed powerful resistance to most forms of attack and magic, like time manipulation and illusions, that would easily kill most humans or magical beings. Also, unlike most people who are unfortunate enough to meet Hades in the underworld after dying, whenever Kratos was killed, he would always find a way to fight his way out, cheating death on numerous occasions. Intelligence. Although often defined by his brute strength, he was a master tactician who was both cunning and knowledgeable, having managed to solve many puzzles throughout his journeys that allowed him to narrowly escape death in the process. Kratos was also wise enough to use the environment against his enemies, and was even able to get the upper hand on Zeus during their second encounter, by feigning defeat and causing Zeus to lower his guard enough for Kratos to effectively strike and nearly kill him. Before serving Ares, Kratos' main weapon was his sword. This eventually changed to the Blades of Chaos, which was gifted to him as a sign of his servitude. These were essentially two falcon-like blades on long chains, permanently fused and seared onto the skin of Kratos. Once he'd killed Ares, Athena had replaced them with a nearly identical pair of blades called the Blades of Athena, which were once again replaced in God of War 3 with the very similar Blades of Exile. Most of his weapons are eventually destroyed following his fight with Zeus, and when he found himself in the Nordic realm, all that remained were the Blades of Chaos, which Kratos kept under his cabin, enabling him to move on, whilst also acting as a reminder of the atrocities that he had once committed. Throughout most of the series, Kratos is incredibly cruel, reckless, and destructive, willing to kill anyone who got in his way. He is also shown to be incapable of accepting full responsibility for his actions, usually blaming the gods, especially Zeus and Ares, for his suffering, while ignoring or denying his own part in it. In spite of his cruel acts, Kratos is shown to care deeply for his wife and daughter, with the memories of their deaths driving him to the point of madness. In fact, the one and only time Kratos was shown to be happy was when he briefly reunited with his daughter in Chains of Olympus. He also cared for his younger brother Deimos and his mother Callisto, with their deaths further contributing to his growing hatred for the gods of Olympus.
Calliope,
Father?
my child,
Why did you go?
I am here now, child, and I will not leave you again.
After destroying Olympus, remarrying, and siring another child named Atreus, Kratos became more of a stoic character, only bursting out in anger when antagonized or threatened. He also finally accepted full responsibility for his actions in Greece, often exhibiting extreme sadness and regret, and at times even falling into a state of depression when confronted about his past behavior. It's his ability to eventually accept his past mistakes and move on that I think makes Kratos one of the most endearing playable characters in a continued game series. Well, that's all for today, folks. Thanks to all of you guys who requested we take a look at the mighty Kratos, as featured in the awesome God of War game series. I want to do a more comprehensive video covering his journey throughout the games in more detail, so if this is something you'd like to see, please let me know in the comments below. If there's any other stuff you'd like me to check out, please don't hesitate to ask. As always, it's been a pleasure. Niyat here with Film Comics Explained. Thanks for stopping by.
But to Kratos, victory was worth any price, even his soul.
Ares! Destroy my enemies, and my life is yours.
The sky split apart, and the god of war stepped through. And his fate was sealed. As promised, Ares rescued his new disciple, bringing forth the power of a god.